everyone, it's Pastor Mary. I am in my apron because we're actually in the middle of filming a different video. So we're going to try and do this video quickly before I have to do the next stage for the other video. But welcome to our first installment of Ask Me Anything. You asked us already some really fantastic questions, and we will post the link in the comments so you can ask us more questions. But I just wanted to tackle 3 of them today, 3 questions that we can answer pretty quickly and pretty easily. And a lot of the other questions you've asked are going to require a little bit more thought from me on how to, maybe not what the answer is, but how to give you that answer in a way that is not just Pastor Mary logic, but logic that works for everyone and is clear for everyone. So I'm gonna have to think about that. But the 3 I wanted to answer today were, number 1, there's a rumor going around that Andrew is Catholic. Is Andrew Catholic? I heard he goes to Mass. So we'll answer that question now. Yes, Andrew does go to midweek Mass. No, Andrew is not Catholic. Andrew Methodist. Andrew's actually an official member of this church here. And before he was a member here, he was a member of a different United Methodist church in my last appointment. And before he was a member there, he was in process of becoming a member of a United Methodist church in Atlanta. And that process got cut off because he was moving out here to Illinois. So he's now been part of multiple United Methodist churches. He is a United Methodist. Now, the reason that Andrew goes to midweek Mass is, well, there's a few reasons. So first of all, when Andrew and I started dating, and then when Andrew followed me up here to Illinois, Andrew realized that it was very difficult for him to consider the person that he has an intimate relationship with as his pastor. So Andrew saw me as a person, as who I am, beyond the title that I carry, beyond the job that I work. And for Andrew, it was hard to line that person up with a pastor. And so he did spend some time exploring attending other churches. He tried other United Methodist churches, he tried other Protestant churches, and what he kept running into were things like people wanting him to join those churches, and people at the churches that I was serving wondering why Andrew wasn't coming to church and thinking that Andrew didn't support me. And so that's one reason. The Catholic Church offers midweek services, and so Andrew goes to midweek Mass. So that's one reason. Another reason why Andrew goes to Mass is because the Catholic Church has some sacraments that the United Methodist Church does not have that have been very meaningful in Andrew's life. In particular, confession. The United Methodist Church does not have formal confession. Now, we do practice confession in an informal manner through accountability, but formal confession is something that the Catholic Church offers that we don't, and that's been meaningful for Andrew.
And that has been an honorary sacrament for me,
yes, it's
as
an
I
honorary.
am not Catholic.
So for those who are watching this who are Catholic, it's an honorary sacrament for Andrew because Andrew's not Catholic.
Padre extended that just because he likes me.
And Andrew actually doesn't go to the Catholic Church here in town. He goes to one down in Quad Cities because that's where he used to work. So he used to go to Mass when he was working down in Quad Cities during his lunch break. He now attends online and does confession online and through Zoom, I think.
Through Zoom and text messages.
Through Zoom and text message. There you go. And so that's been meaningful. Andrew grew up and attended Catholic school, and so that's another reason too, is that Catholicism has just had a life in Andrew, and it's an important part of who Andrew is, but Andrew is not Catholic. Question number 2 was if Andrew could escape being a pastor's spouse. You all asked a lot of questions about Andrew. I don't know that I have any about me, which is totally fine. But if Andrew could escape being a pastor's spouse, would he? Sometimes yes. But to be honest with you, if I could escape being a pastor, would I? Sometimes yes. pastoring is a difficult job. And I've now been in the position of being a pastor's kid. My father was a pastor. I've been a pastor's spouse. Andrew was a pastor for a short period of time. And I have been I am a pastor. So I've served in all three of those roles. And it's tough. It can be very tough. Pastoring can be an overwhelming job, much like teaching, much like a political position, much like caretaking professions. It can just kind of take over everything, even when you have the best boundaries. And so there are definitely days that Andrew has thought about walking away from it. But I think overall, Andrew feels that his role as my husband is in and of itself its own ministry. And Andrew has gifts in ministry and graces in ministry that I do not have. And so he's been a wonderful partner to me in those things that I'm just not good at.
And if it came to it, my marriage vows come before everything else. Mm-hmm. So if I had to step away from ministry, from the church, from any of that, for any reason, my marriage vows would always come first.
And I will add, too, that when Andrew and I very first met, and we dated online, we met online. I was living in North Carolina at the time because I was going to seminary, and Andrew's from Atlanta, Georgia. And I told him before we really had feelings for each other, when we were just testing each other out, that this would be my life, and that he needed to really think and pray and talk to clergy spouses before he wanted to get too involved with me. And, you never know what you sign up for when you sign up for it. But I told him to prepare himself as well as he could before he started his relationship with me, and at least have some semblance of what that life would look like. So question number 3, and this is our last one for today, because I'm sure you can hear my timer is going off, and that's for the other video that we're filming. But no, we can. It's okay. Question number 3 is, what is the most embarrassing thing that has happened to me on a Sunday morning? And this is not my most embarrassing thing, because I'm still a little too embarrassed to tell you my most embarrassing thing. But this is Andrew's giggling because he knows what the most embarrassing thing is, and it's excruciatingly embarrassing. So I'm not going to tell you that one. But I will tell you my second most embarrassing thing.
We'll get it out of her, guys.
It's maybe years down the road, when I'm ready to retire, I might say my most embarrassing thing. But this is a very close runner-up. It's 1 year during our Easter sunrise service. And think about, Easter services. That's the service when you get people who only come, on Easter Sunday. And you get people's families who come into town. You have all these visitors. Your church is just packed to the brim. And so it's Easter sunrise service. The church is just bulging with visitors, and there's almost only standing room in this tiny little church. I was giving the benediction, and I fainted. I fainted in the middle of Easter sunrise service giving the benediction. And I scared the person in the front row, came to try and catch me, and it was awful. I was white as a sheet. We went downstairs, we had some breakfast, and then we went to our regular service after that, and it's all the same people. And everyone is just mortified. I'm mortified, and everyone's very worried about me. They made me pull out a chair and preach the regular service that day sitting down, because everyone was scared I was going to faint again. And it turns out I had a few incidents with fainting during that year, and it turns out that the ADHD medicine I was taking was causing that. But it was really bad. I thought I was going to have to give up preaching because I was fainting in the middle of worship services, and here I am Easter Sunday, and I fainted. And But, you know, that's one for the books. So maybe someday in the future, long in the future, I might tell you my most embarrassing one, but that's a pretty close runner-up. So my oven and my kitchen needs a little bit of attention from me. Andrew's going to turn around and talk with you, but I hope you have a wonderful evening, and thank you for sharing this with me. We'll do another segment of this later this week.
So like Mary said, I was a pastor, interim pastor for 14 months. I have an embarrassing moment that's actually quite funny. We had a funeral, and it was a long funeral. I mean, 2.5 hour long funeral. I was only in the pulpit for maybe 30 minutes of it. Got through my sermon, got through everything, emotionally charged. Didn't realize that I didn't eat that day. We get to the lunch downstairs. While speaking to the recently deceased person's son, I fainted and fell into someone's dessert. That one was the most embarrassing one for me.